Okay, good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Jen Rogers. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager for Skagit County, and I'll be moderating our panel discussion tonight. Skagit County and the City of Mount Vernon are very excited to host this discussion to talk about our senior nutrition program and the Mount Vernon Senior Center and senior services in Mount Vernon. You'll hear from our panelists here soon, but just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So first, the event tonight is going to wrap up by 7. I apologize, there was a misprint that said 7:30. We have to be out by 7. We will be recording this panel, as you can see in the cameras here in the room. So we'll plan to post that recording on our website for anyone who missed tonight, or if you want to rewatch, you can also do that too. We want to sincerely thank everyone who submitted questions ahead of time for all of our panelists. We took those into consideration for all the questions here tonight. So we won't have an open comment period tonight. So if there's any questions that you don't hear that get answered, we have printed comment cards in the back on those tables. So you can leave those on the tables or you can give it to any of the staff members and we'll make sure to follow up with you after the event. And we'll also post those answers on our website up here. We do also have a sign-up sheet in the back if you just want to add your email address. If you don't have any questions, you just want to sign up for emails, we have that outside in the back as well. And with that, I think we'll just go ahead and get started. So first, can you each introduce yourself and tell us about your role in senior services in Mount Vernon?
Hello. I am Amanda McDade, and I am the Executive Director of the Northwest Regional Council, and we are the Area Agency on Aging for Whatcom, San Juan Island, and Skagit counties.
My name is Elena Ropel. I'm the President of Skagit Council on Aging.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Wiesen, Skagit County Commissioner and Chair of the Board this year.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Vernon Library Commons. My name is Peter Donovan. I'm the Mayor of the City of Mount Vernon.
Good evening. My name is Mary Hudson. I serve as Mayor Pro Tem this year. I am a council member in Mount Vernon in Ward 3, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce my co-council members that are here tonight. In front of me is my cohort in Ward 3, Melissa Beaton. And next to her is Demi Damon. She is one of our new council members this year, and she is in Ward... Oh, she's at large. So sorry, I'm getting confused. She's our at-large member. Navor Tessero, he is a council member from Ward 1. And then Hannah Oliver is here, and she's from Ward 2, another one of our new council members.
Thank you.
I was supposed to introduce my fellow seatmates, Commissioner Peter Browning and Commissioner Joe Burns.
Okay, thank you all. So first we're going to start out talking about our senior nutrition program. So Elena, I think you have a great update to share with our audience here tonight about the senior nutrition program.
I do. Thank you, first of all, to the City of Mount Vernon for hosting and inviting us, and the county for inviting us. But as I said, my name is Elena Ropel. I'm the President of Skagit Council on Aging. Our previous role up until recently has been the fundraising arm for most of the Meals on Wheels contributions coming from clients in the local centers and working with the county to administer the fundraising for that program. We made a decision as a board back on the 8th of April to move forward as the sole contractor for the senior nutrition program moving forward, starting on July 1st. So we will be taking over the operations of the senior nutrition program and working in collaboration with all of these wonderful people to ensure that the meals continue getting served starting July 1st under Skagit Council on Aging as the contract with the county and Northwest Regional Council comes to an end. So we are very excited for that. It's an opportunity that our board felt was necessary for us to take. We'll be answering some questions throughout the panel, but in big picture, our goals and our opportunities are to continue feeding seniors, and that is our plan and our mission moving forward, and we'll continue to do all of the work that gets us there. So that is, I think, collectively the best news that we can share today, and it makes this announcement very easy for me.
Thank you, Elena. I'm just going to take a quick step back here. So Amanda, can you talk a little bit about the Meals on Wheels contract and how that funding works here in Skagit County?
Sure. The Meals on Wheels and the Senior Nutrition Contract is part of the Older Americans Act. It's Title III of the Older Americans Act. As the Area Agency on Aging, that contract is with us, and that funding from the federal government through the Older Americans Act and some state funding flows through us to the nutrition providers. Historically, Older Americans Act has been flat funding for many, many, many years. And so over time, it has not been enough. There has been a lot of braided funding and fundraising that has gone into all nutrition programs around the state and around the country. But that is our role. We are responsible for the senior nutrition program compliance with the state and the federal contracts. And that is what we're doing. But we also very much are part of partnering and thought partnering and trying to make sure that these programs that are near and dear to us, we run a lot of senior programs, not just the nutrition, but we know that this one has been obviously extremely important. All the nutrition programs are very, very important. And so, well, I think we'll get to this, our continued role, but that is the background of who we are as the Area Agency on Aging and our relationship to this program.
Thanks, Amanda. Can you also talk a little bit about what the requirements are for the Meals on Wheels contract and senior nutrition program? What do we have to do here in Skagit?
Sure. The statutory requirements include providing eligibility and nutrition risk screening for program participants, which is a pretty basic risk screening process, and providing at least one hot, cold, or other appropriate meal in a congregate setting at least once a day. And across the county, at least 5 or more days per week. So that's not every site 5 days per week, but at least at one site 5 days per week. And offering 5 or more home delivered meals per week per participant.
Thank you, Amanda. Elena, what can seniors expect starting July 1st? Am I going to have the same Meals on Wheels driver? Will I have the same kind of food being delivered? What are your plans?
Good question. Just kidding. We have the answer to that. Trying to lighten the mood here a little. So 2 things are very important to the current senior nutrition program, including congregate and home delivered meals. And those 2 things are the most valuable things for this program. That's the current employees, and that's the over 300 volunteers that participate in the Meals on Wheels program and the administration of nutrition. So we are working right now to try to retain all of the current county employees that are working in the nutrition program as it is. Our goal is at SCOA is to retain them and to retain all the volunteers to continue services for the next 6 months, or the 6 months left of the contract under us, so July 1st to the end of the year. Our intention is to take those employees, take those volunteers, and administer the program exactly how you have it today. We were very intentional with that decision. It didn't come lightly because we've been told by everyone that we can't financially do it, and it's a big risk, but we felt like we needed 6 months to really back into operating the program, and we thought the best thing we could do with our resources was to fund the program for the 6 months of our contract and to ensure that seniors don't feel like there's a missing component to their services. That's a big, big thing to us. And so all of our intentions right now are driven to make that happen. So we're working on backfilling all of those positions that are currently filled, making sure employees want to come work for SCOA because they're right now county employees. So that's a lot of work, but that's our intention. So to the drivers, to anybody else who's employed, our intention is we don't change anything for the seniors that are currently receiving services at the congregate settings and at the home delivered meal settings. And so that is our intention. The 2 biggest factors in that is retaining the employees and retaining the volunteers. We've already met with the employees in a collaboration to ensure that they understood what our next steps were. We wanted to make sure that they knew that our plan was trying to keep them preserved as employees. And to be honest, it was a good conversation, good feedback, and we're hoping to have those people retained with us so that no services go interrupted. That is a giant wish and a giant ask, but that's our goal, and that's the mission we're kind of striving for. So as of 7/1, we're hoping no drivers change. We're hoping no faces that you normally see have changed, and that we can continue operating the program as is for the remainder of 2026.
Hey, and Elena, does that mean that you're taking over management of the senior centers too?
No. But no, we are collaborating with all of the cities. We had a great meeting on Friday with the cities because there's a lot of interworkings in the meals program. As most of you probably know, congregate meals are served out of senior centers. SCOA and the county currently don't operate those senior centers, except for the complexities of Mount Vernon, but SCOA is very intentionally having conversations with the cities, because what we know is this program is expensive. What we know is that we have lots of seniors that need to be served. In 2025, we served over 180,000 meals. That's complex. And so we at SCOA know that we have to continue partnering with the county. We have to partner with each of the cities to ensure that these services can continue in 2027. I think collectively, we all identify what the needs are and the goal is, and now we're going to work together to get there. But we don't operate the senior centers. We don't have a vision to do that right now, but we are definitely trying to support the senior centers in ongoing conversations, including Mount Vernon's.
Thank you. And Amanda, can you talk a little bit about how you're working with the county with this transition? We know that there's going to be a lot of work and there's some tricky intricacies there.
Sure. I think the key to that is just the fact that we are in close and frequent communication. So they have been wonderful partners to us, and they have been as transparent as possible with the information, unraveling a program that's been in place for nobody actually knows when it started. It was back in the 70s sometime. So it's been going on for a very, very long time. And transitioning that to a new provider, of course, is really complex, and with so many cities and so many players. But I think, and I've said this before, the will has always been there. The communication and the desire for everybody to partner has always been there. And that is what NWRC really values as well, is just partnering well. And so that will continue. There is still a lot to transition, obviously. But ongoing, we just have more meetings on the calendar. We have more emails flowing. We are talking. We actually are right next door to each other, the county and I, over there on Valley Mall Way. So that is kind of the key to it. There's no, besides what we need to help Elena with and SCOA get up and running with, the county is still just part of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Elena, you talked a lot about what seniors can expect here in the second half of 2026. Can you talk a little bit about your plans for 2027 and beyond?
Yeah, I think that's a big question. And I'm going to answer it as cautiously as possible. What I don't want to do is give people false hope that in 2027, we're going to continue doing everything exactly the same. My goal is to find operational efficiencies without cutting any services and finding other opportunities for funding. That is something that I think, if you read the press release in the Skagit Valley Herald, it was something very intentional on SCOA's part. We think this is an opportunity for a nonprofit to operate the meals and nutrition program, to look at funding in a different way that maybe the county couldn't have previously. We're looking at partnerships in 2027 that might think about things outside of the box, meaning who can we partner with at Community Action? What can we do with the Skagit Community Foundation? What can we do with other partners, the hospital districts? So we're exploring a lot of partnerships with a lot of people that raised their hand and said, hey, if you step forward, we're here to support you. And now we're calling those people to the carpet. 2027, don't tell me something you don't mean. In 2027, our goal is to continue the services, continue serving seniors as is right now, with the opportunity of hoping to find some operational efficiencies. But on the other side of that, without cutting the services and finding the operational efficiencies on the fundraising side. SCOA has always been the fundraising arm for this program. Our goals are to increase and improve our fundraising. We've always done it at a certain level. Our goal is to elevate that. So we want to really tie into the community and all the people and all the partnerships that this county has and say, what can you do to help this program continue? And what can we do to help you in return? So I think there's a lot of opportunity in 2027. I'm not going to commit to anything because we are looking at everything. But I think collectively as a board, we feel very, very confident that we can administer this program and that we can find new ways to partner to make it sustainable. As is, it's not sustainable. So our goal is to make it sustainable. And by leaving the program as is right now, that's going to give us 6 months to really evaluate how we do services, what we do, who we provide for, and what are the opportunities to make it better.
Thank you. And how can the community support the meal program in SCOA this year?
Stay active. Like I said before, the two biggest things are our volunteers and our employees. And so if senior nutrition is something that's important to you, as it is with the senior center conversation here tonight, Get involved in the senior center advisory boards. Find opportunities to help fundraise for Meals on Wheels. There's a lot of great fundraising that happens in the community at each little community city level that goes to SCOA, and that money is more important now than ever because we are losing the funding that the county's been administering, and so we're looking to backfill that. I think the other thing too is if you have ideas or conversations you want to have about nutrition or efficiencies or maybe partnerships that you work with, reach out to us. We are definitely open and really just being open-minded and patient with SCOA as we continue navigating this process. But our intention, again, is to hold in place as much as we can and look for opportunities to make this sustainable.
Thank you, Elena. And thank you, Amanda, as well, for joining us to talk about the senior nutrition program and the updates going on moving forward. So the rest of this discussion is going to be focused on senior services and the Mount Vernon Senior Center. But again, I just want to thank Amanda and Elena for joining us tonight and sharing that information. I think everyone is very appreciative. So thank you. Okay, Councilmember Hudson, can you talk a little bit about why you wanted to host today's town hall?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. This topic is obviously a great passion for many people, a testament to those of you who are in the room. It's something we've heard about at all of our ward meetings and at our council meetings. So just tells us this is important to the community. Fun fact that I didn't know, the U.S. Census Bureau estimates that by 2030, 30% of Mount Vernon's total population will be age 65 and older. So that means it's just going to continue to grow and the need is going to continue to be there. We want to work with SCOA to continue supporting the senior nutrition program as it transitions this summer. I'm really excited that they're on board to do this. I think we have a really great partnership with them, and they sound like the perfect agency to take on this task. I think we all need to understand that change is inevitable, and change is coming down the pike. We know that. We all care deeply for our seniors. I'm a senior. Okay, you care deeply for me. Yes, thank you very much. I care deeply for you. But in order to be able to ensure services, things are going to have to look a little bit different. There's going to have to be some give and take on both sides. We need to figure out a way to provide sustainable long-term senior services in our communities, all of our communities. But we have to be open to creative ideas too. So like Lena said, outside the box. We want to think outside the box. And with them taking on the meal program, that does open different opportunities than government is required to follow. We have more strict rules. So I'm glad they're taking this piece on. I think we all have to realize that the city or the county or the county together, all three of us, we are not going to be able to do this alone. It's just an impossible task, and I don't like to have to say that, but it's enormous. It's an enormous undertaking, and we're going to have to partner in whatever we do. We have talked about perhaps using an existing Mount Vernon property. I mean, we're always looking at, I drive around, how many of you drive around and look at an empty building and say, I wonder if that would work for the senior center? I do that every day. So keep those ideas coming, because who wants to think about the 192 Brewing Company? Wouldn't that be a fantastic spot? It's got a commercial kitchen. It's right across the street from Senior Center. So, those kind of things just run through my mind. It's like, let's think about just things that are outside the box. And like I said before, we are going to have to work together. We have to partner with each other and others to make this a reality. So really do appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember. Commissioner Wiesen, we had lots of questions about the immediate future of the senior center. So can you just start us off by addressing, are you planning to close the senior center or relocate it in the immediate future?
Skagit County has no plans to close the Mount Vernon Senior Center. It is a senior center that the county owns. The rest of the senior centers are owned by the cities, except this one in Mount Vernon. And we want to make sure we keep that senior center going, but it is an aging facility. So we have no plans to be closing the Mount Vernon Senior Center. The location has always been a location that property is owned by the county, as I mentioned before. We have not had any plans to move it anywhere. I mean, that's just the location where that building is, but we'll have to get more studies and so forth coming on if we're going to look at relocating the center. And I know that is a concern to some individuals, but it is location is not as busy as downtown Mount Vernon, and it is a facility that seems to be working, but it is 100 years old. So that's one of the issues we have with that building there next to the fairgrounds.
Great. And I know that there's been a lot of concerns about some of the repairs that have been needed. Is there a plan in place or some thoughts that have been going on about what would happen if a repair was needed and we couldn't operate in that location temporarily?
We have reached out to several different organizations or property owners in the area to look at what could we do for a short-term relocation if it was needed. As most of you know who use the Mount Vernon Senior Center, we had 2 or 3 closures last year. The sewer lines going out failed, and so we had to make some adjustments, and it was closed or reduced use. So we have reached out to some other buildings in the area. The temporary facility, we could make that do for a temporary facility if it was needed, but we have no plans to doing any of that right now. The current Mount Vernon facility is functional, but like I said before, it's 100 years old. So,
well, that kind of tees up our next question. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the senior center?
as most of you know who've been through that facility or been in it and go to it on a daily basis, it was built as a school. Senior centers today are different than schools were 100 years ago. And so that's the layout, the different rooms, smaller. The kitchen isn't large enough for what we need to have. So those are some of the issues that we have with that facility right now. Anything we do to improve it in that location, we'd have to bring up to the new codes. So ADA is one of the issues, electrical, floodplain, all those things. If you spend over 50% of the value of the building to renovate, you have to bring it up to the new codes. With a 100-year-old building, that makes it very unlikely that we can spend a large amount of money to make it renovated and so forth. And so that's one of the issues we have with that facility right now. And as I mentioned, it's 100 years old, so this doesn't have brand new doors. It doesn't have brand new floors. And so all of those things with 100 years, it has a lot of character, but that is not one of the things that we want to be able to go forward with. So those are some of the issues we're having. And like I said before, we are not planning on closing the Mount Vernon Senior Center facilities. We are still putting money in it to keep it running. But at some point, you have to decide a 100-year-old building isn't worth putting new money in. So that's what we're looking at and trying to figure out what to go from there. So.
And Mayor Donovan, from the city's perspective, where are we at now with the senior center?
Well, I will say that that supporting our seniors in the city of Mount Vernon is a priority. The city will continue to direct some resources for senior meals, for senior programming, as we have for decades. We all deserve to stay connected and supported as we get older. And I say we all. I'm just a few years away from qualifying for some of those senior discounts as well. But we deserve to stay connected, and the senior center provides that vitally important opportunity for social connection and for quality of life. So one of the questions we received this week was, what would people on the stage want in terms of senior services when we are seniors? And for me, the answer is no different than what I want right now in life. It's an opportunity for connection, a place to participate in activities, and the ability to just engage my community at a meaningful level. We need all of these things, and we need them for all of our residents. And those things don't just happen typically. They're planned for. And we need to be intentional about how we approach that planning process. Yes, that does take some time, but it's been said here already, and I want to be very clear with you right now. As urgent as this feels right now, we are not in crisis mode today. We are fortunate that we have an existing facility as beat up and in need of drastic improvements and eventually replacement as it is. It's providing a place to meet and to serve the needs of our senior community while we move forward thoughtfully to get this right, and thoughtfully to find a long-term solution, because the one we've got now is not the long-term solution. The county has also made senior housing and services a priority themselves. That's helped them to secure $1.5 million from our legislators at the state level, which can help us explore whether maybe a shared housing and senior center project is a viable undertaking at the current location. But the city and the county are united, and we are committed to working together to support senior services in the city of Mount Vernon. That includes the city evaluating all of our own city-owned facilities and potentially collaborating on a few options for a long-term facility in a temporary location should an unexpected emergency take place that makes the current facility unusable. But again, it's been said here tonight, and this is important because a lot of rumors, a lot of misinformation are being spread, but the county has no plans to close the Mount Vernon Senior Center or to relocate it in the near future.
Thank you, Mayor Donovan. Commissioner Wiesen, I think everyone's heard a lot of us talk about the difficulty with funding services, really countywide. Can you talk about the type of funding that supports senior centers right now? Why can't you move money from other programs or utilize different types of grants to support senior services?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. People don't understand the amount of different funds that we have in the county and how some of them are very have to be used. Road fund has to be just used for road things. Our general fund is what we're using to fund the senior center. That is the general fund, and that comes from your property taxes, but that also funds the sheriff's office, the prosecutor's office, the assessor's office, the treasurer's office, all those other planning department, all those other departments. It has to come from the funding from our general fund. And so we are very limited on moving money around. We can move it around our general fund, but some of the, like I said, the road fund, drainage utility, those are itemized funds that have to be used for that individual purpose. So we don't have the ability to move those type of things. There's no dedicated funding for senior services. There are different funds for different amounts. The veterans program, they have a different funding source. Mental health, they have a different funding source. But our general fund, our senior centers, comes from that general fund. So we don't have the ability to move the different funds around for doing that. The homelessness, that's another one that comes out of some of the direct funds that we do have. Extra funding goes just for the homeless. Those are type of the things that we have ability. So like I said, the general fund is where most of our other funds go, and 75% is roughly law and justice and the other departments, assessor, planning, treasurer, all those other things. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Donovan, another common question we receive: why were you not able to relocate the senior center to right here in the Library Commons?
Oh, I heard that, everyone. We're always looking for to partner with other entities, other agencies to create spaces in our community that serve this population. That's true now. And it was true when they were planning to build the facility that we're sitting in right now. When they were designing the Library Commons, there was some excitement, a lot of excitement among elected leaders here about the possibility of maybe creating an integrated library and community center that also included a long-term facility solution for our senior population. Then I think at some point those big plans met big budget realities, and at the time when they looked at adding additional space and keeping senior services at the same level, that the community was demanding. It was going to require a much more substantial capital investment to accommodate the additional space that would be required. There were some concerns about drive-up access for Meals on Wheels drivers to access the commissary kitchen here. And the decision that was made was also the result of getting quite a bit of feedback from our senior community here. So between all of those things, and including listening to community feedback, it became clear to the leaders at that time that the vision of relocating to the library was not going to be aligned necessarily with the needs of the community. Some people have asked, I've heard, well, what about the old library, the old Mount Vernon Library? Wanted to address that as well. We did look into that. The city looked into that. The city is also facing facility challenges and needs. We need space. It was recognized that we're going to need the space in that old library as a location to consolidate city staff and gain some much needed office space. So that consolidation will result in vacating a separately owned city property, the Public Works building south of there. My guess is that property is likely too small to suit a senior center, but we're willing to look at all of those options. The city's also taken a look at our parks properties. We're currently considering some creative partnerships on city-owned property that might serve multiple community needs. So we're not giving up. We're not giving up on imagining some workable and even unconventional solutions.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Wiesen, I know you alluded to this a little bit, but can you explain why we can't retrofit or remodel the current facility?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the facility was built as a schoolhouse 100 years ago. It is aging. We have some, the footers and so forth, the siding. Some of those issues are just because of the structure, the way it was built 100 years ago. Anytime you spend money on a retrofit, once you get above that 50% value, we have to bring it up to current codes and ADA, parking, electrical, flood, all those issues. Just doesn't make it practical to spend a lot of additional money on the current 100-year-old facility.
Councilmember Hudson, what have you been hearing from the community about our senior center?
That they don't want it to go away. That's
Great.
First and foremost. They're very valued in our community. I haven't heard one person ever say to me, "We don't need a senior center." I've never heard that come from anybody's mouth. And I can say that every single council member feels the same way. I can totally say that I can speak for every council member and say we are very much in support of a senior center and a good senior center and doing whatever we can to help with that. I know that people are worried that the services will be reduced or interrupted, and we don't want that to happen either. We definitely don't want to. We don't want to rock the boat. We really don't want to rock the boat. None of us do. We just need to find a way to, like I said before, to do this in a sustainable way, that it's not going to be just a flash in the pan and then be done and then we're scrambling for funding again. We have to do it very mindfully and with a lot of input from everybody, and that includes input from you. You have to keep talking to us, keep telling us what you want, what you need. I'm not going to tell you that we're going to be able to do everything you want, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to listen to you, and we'll all listen to what you want and what you need, what you think is a valuable asset in the senior center. So please keep those cards and letters coming, as they say. And like I said, your feedback is very important to all of us. So we need to hear from you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Commissioner Wiesen, Mayor Donovan did talk a little bit about the $1.5 million allocation from the state legislature. Can you talk a little bit about the plans for that, and why did you ask for funding for a joint housing and senior center project?
A few years ago, we did a countywide assessment of all the properties the county owns, and one of the things that came out as the best location for housing would be the senior center project. We came back with how would we make something like that happen? So we went down to Olympia and we asked for funding to do a study on how would we be able to do. We need a senior center. We also would need housing. Can we combine those together in this location? So the funding is for making sure we are able to come up with, planning, design, and the potential, the future location at that location to do senior center and senior housing project. That location, just because that's what the funding source says, they're the ones that's going to said we have the money, we have a housing issue, we need a senior center. That's the location we want to do it. So we want to look at that, and that's what the concerns that people need to realize. We aren't trying to close down our senior center. We're looking at all different options, but we have to have the plans. We have to have a study, and so we can go to the next step to see what is the cost of this type of facility in that location. How can we get other partners? We're looking for private partners to help build it. The county doesn't want to operate the senior center and the senior housing. We're looking to have a plan drawn up in such a way that we can have other partners come in and help run that operation. So that's what we're looking at, and that's why it was $1.5 million. We're very grateful for our legislative district legislators to come up with that money, and we really want to make sure we have a good plan going forward once we come up with the dollar amount, what it's going to cost, and how to design it in such a way. And when we get down the road on the design and so forth, that's when we get more input from the public on what do they want to see in that type of project.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Donovan, what are the next steps for this joint venture?
Well, we're already working with Skagit Council on Aging. We had a meeting on Friday, a great first meeting to continue supporting the senior nutrition program as it transitions this summer. I think that will be a good transition. I think we're all in good hands there. As long as we're able, the city of Mount Vernon is going to maintain our financial commitment to supporting the senior nutrition program this year and into the future as well. I think we all need to understand, just in general, whether we're talking about senior services, senior programming, senior nutrition, that change is inevitable. That's been said tonight. Some sort of change is probably coming our way, but the bottom line is that we care deeply for our seniors, and I think I have the permission from the city council members who are here tonight when I say that all of us want to do what we can to ensure that we can adequately maintain and provide services for our seniors through whatever changes may be coming our way. But the good news is we have time to find a sustainable, long-term way to deliver those senior center services. And we have been open to creative solutions. If the legislature wants to fund housing, then we need to take advantage of that. We have a pretty good track record in the city of Mount Vernon of creatively combining uses and capitalizing on various funding sources in order to build capital facilities that our community otherwise would not be able to afford. You are sitting in one this evening. It's a great example of the resourcefulness that we have here. And just like it would have been difficult to find funding for a standalone library, it is also unlikely that the city or the county would be able to build a standalone senior center on our own. We're going to likely have to combine some uses and utilize in existing city or county-owned property, maybe, or consider options that the legislature will fund. Most importantly, the only way that we're going to get there is if we do this together. The city, the county, other local organizations, we cannot do this alone. And more importantly, none of us should try to do this alone. Think of how fractured and weak our senior programming would be if everyone was going in different directions and pursuing their own agendas here. I don't believe we should give up on the idea of our residents and our local government collaborating to come up with a solution together that offers a win for everyone.
So we talked a lot tonight about what the city council, what the county wants to do. Would you be open to partnering with a nonprofit or the advisory boards on a different management style of the center like others in the region?
Thank you for the question. Yes. Absolutely. Very open to discussions and discussing ideas with other nonprofits that would be interested in managing the senior center facility. I think we can look at local examples of that have worked well. Anacortes, Concrete. There are other examples of quality nonprofit management. And I will go off script here a little bit and say that, in fact, I think there are probably a lot of instances where when government gets out of the way, the private sector and the nonprofit sector is then able to step up and provide services at a level that government cannot. And so I think there could be a opportunity there if we're open to looking at that opportunity and to seizing it when that opportunity arises.
Thank you, Mayor. And Commissioner, did you want to chime in there?
Yeah, as Mayor Donovan mentioned, the senior centers in the county here, the one in Anacortes, they have an Anacortes Foundation that runs that operation over there. So the county pays a little bit of money to the Anacortes to help fund the program there, but they run it. The county staff doesn't have any staff there at all except for the meal program, but the center is run completely by the local foundation over there. Concrete up there, the county contracts with Community Action, which is a nonprofit organization. So they are able to run that facility there. So there is opportunity for, as the mayor mentioned, other nonprofits or other organizations or the great volunteers we have in this community. We have a great giving, active senior population or other population members that want to be involved in different things. And this is a way to make sure they can come involved in Anacortes, they have pool tables, they have all kinds of activities going on because people volunteer to be the instruction and they have classes that are able to start up. One of the issues we had at the beginning before Anacortes Foundation took over was the county staff was only there 7 or 8 hours a day, so we had to close the building. And so they were able to have their own hours and make it operate the way they want to run it. And so that's the flexibility for nonprofits. They're able to make things happen with another different operating model. So I think those are some of the things that we need to look at in this community. And I really want to thank all the different people here today and how well they've come together, come up with the different ideas. And as the mayor mentioned, there are other options out there. The level of service may be different, but it doesn't have to be less productive.
Councilmember Hudson, how can the community get involved and provide feedback on this future project?
Thank you. I'm happy to say that our council has all decided to do ward meetings in each of the 3 wards this year. I will say that Ward 3, Melissa and I have been doing it for several years, and we were the only ones. And so we shamed our other council members, which includes several new council members. So that kind of helped. So we're all doing ward meetings, and we've committed to doing more this year. So keep your eyes open for that. You're always welcome to come in and talk to us at those. Mayor's Coffee. The mayor does a coffee once or twice a month. Is that once? Once a month. And it's always advertised on the website. That's where a lot of the information is, on the website or on our city Facebook pages. A lot of departments have their own, and they push all the information out to you in that manner. Community comments during city council meetings. There's an opportunity for the community to speak to the council about suggestions or concerns or ideas that they have for us. And then you see up here, there's a link to get more information to the county or to the mayor directly. So please take advantage of all those opportunities. And also, you can always, also on our website, our emails directly to each of us, and you can go that route too if you'd like to send us each an email or send us an email. So we feel like there's plenty of opportunities and ways for you to communicate with us that we would urge you to use.
We have a few more questions for the audience that were submitted that we wanted to add in here. So first, we have heard a lot about your dance floor and how important that is. So Commissioner Wiesen, can you talk about how seniors can support some of the features in their current center for a new center, like a dance floor, more parking, a spacious kitchen?
Those are all the things I mentioned a little bit earlier, but all those are important to seniors who use a facility. We want to make sure we have a facility that is used by the community that's using that facility. We are very, very early in the planning stage of anything here. So as mentioned by Councilman Hudson, the county commissioner's website there, you can go ahead and email us any ideas and so forth, what you wanted to have. The county commissioners also have our public comment, usually at Tuesdays at 11:30, to bring in your ideas. But we are very, very early in the idea of planning and actually starting to work on what potential facility would look like. But all those things are great ideas. Dance floor, larger kitchen, we want to make sure that's available. Those are things that I believe we need to have in the new facility, but it's going to be years before a new facility is built. And so it's going to take a while. We need to make sure we get all the good ideas. So like when they did the Mount Vernon Commons here in the library, they got a lot of different ideas and they worked with the little groups to come up with what they want it to look like. And that's what we would do at the final point with the new senior center housing facility.
Saw a lot of questions that came in this week about dance floor, and I'm really suspicious. Is there a dance floor committee that has been formed? Lobbyists, maybe? Something like that.
Self-appointed, maybe the mayor's asking to be on that committee.
No.
Councilmember, how can seniors support these centers and the sustainability of the program at large?
Well, I think it's important that you take advantage of everything that's already available to you in the senior centers. Make sure you're using the programs. I pulled up your calendar just to take a look again today, and it's like, that thing is packed. It's packed with things. I was trying to figure out what else could you possibly put in there. Crystal, I have some ideas now. But it's amazing all the things that you have in there and the other groups that you host there. So please take advantage of all those. And then just make sure if there's fundraising events, I know that you have a very active fundraising group right now, help them out if you can. Make sure you're helping your group of people that is wanting to work on getting the new senior center going. If they're doing fundraising events, please help them out where you can.
Thank you. Mayor Donovan, is the city or the county providing funds for the Recovery Cafe to purchase their facility? We had a couple questions about that.
Yeah, saw that. The quick answer is no. No funding came from the county or city. Skagit County supported a legislative request for the Recovery Cafe. You know where that's on Riverside Drive, for the Recovery Cafe to purchase their current facility, which they've been leasing there. So those are state dollars that are coming into the city for that purchase. So that's not local funding. That's not city or county funding. I'm a big fan of New Earth Recovery and the work that the Recovery Cafe is doing. But the rumor that the city or the county funded that purchase or prioritized that purchase over other funding, it's just bad information. So really glad that question was asked and that we could address it here.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Wiesen, if you did build a combined senior center and affordable housing project for seniors, where would that be located if you used that funding from the state?
That $1.5 million that I mentioned earlier, and Mayor Donovan brought up, it has to be a senior housing and senior center at the current location. That's what the strings were attached with the money that comes from the state. So that's what the design and planning will be for at that current location. So there's no flexibility on that $1.5 million coming from the state. We have to look at that one location there, and we have to look at senior housing and a senior center.
So Mayor Donovan already said he's really excited to use the dance floor in the Mount Vernon Senior Center when it's come time for him to be an attendee. So Commissioner Wiesen and Councilmember Hudson, what are some other activities or hobbies that you're looking forward to participating in at the center?
As most of you know, I'm a dairy farmer, and so my family still has a dairy farm, so I haven't had much time for these hobby kind of thing. There's always been something to do on the farm. But there's always been, when I go to the senior centers and see what's there, I really enjoy talking with the people that are there because everybody has an interesting life story, and I think that's one thing I enjoy most, talking to individuals that are there, what their work experience was been, and there's a lot of people of different parts of the country that settled in this Skagit County here, and I think it's really enjoyable just to listen to their stories and hear why they like to stay in Skagit County.
So dance floor, again, that's 2 for dance floor.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to say that. So, although I would challenge him to a dance-off anytime. So just FYI.
Fundraising idea? Is that what we're talking
there
about?
we go. I was, like I said, I was really amazed at everything that's on your calendar. And I would really love to see if there was an opportunity to have some language classes, like learn. I don't know if that's something you do. I didn't see it. Okay. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Learn how to speak Spanish, because I should know how to speak Spanish, at least, basic, and vice versa. Right. I think who said food? Food is the other reason. It was Peter Browning. He's like, we're all about the meals. Okay. So we want to come there and eat, but we also, I think just the exercise classes you do and the crafts and the different group meetings, I'm amazed at so much goes on in that building. And, I hope someday when I'm not working anymore, might be able to take advantage of some of the fun things that are offered down at that lovely center.
Okay, great. And that does wrap up the questions we had submitted. I know Mayor Donovan and Commissioner Wiesen had a few more closing remarks here. So Mayor Donovan, you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, the whole reason for being here tonight is to create an opportunity for good information to be shared and to be shared directly with the residents that it impacts the most, and to let our community know that we want to do all that we can to provide for the needs of our senior residents. You are a vital part of this community. That's why, despite all of our budget constraints, you see the city of Mount Vernon continue to not only direct funding for meals and programming in Mount Vernon, but we also make efforts to provide ongoing services and activities ourselves for our senior residents. Things like our pickleball courts, our tennis courts, hiking and walking trails throughout the city, our senior-focused parks and library programming. You told us that you wanted group classes like Tai Chi and photography and cooking and art and gardening and author meet and greets and senior book clubs. We have our 55 and older library collection. We provide volunteer opportunities in the city of Mount Vernon in our library department, our parks department, our police department, for those of you who decided that you're not quite done after retirement. We also provide outreach to nursing homes and to senior living facilities. Again, that's all in addition to the financial contributions of supporting the Meals on Wheels program and the senior programming at the senior center. So yes, we have significant budget challenges, but we are also dedicated to supporting seniors in our community, and we will continue to look for ways to do that. And I want to reiterate that the only way to be successful in those efforts is by working together with county government, with our community, with nonprofit providers, taking the time to make sure that our seniors have a place to gather and socially connect. That might not be required of local governments, but it will be something that your government in Mount Vernon works hard at trying to provide, to ensure that no one in our community is left out, and to provide a practical and enjoyable living experience for all of our residents.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I really want to appreciate you spending the time this evening to come and learn a little bit more about our senior services. One thing I didn't mention earlier was the great cooperation we have between the cities and the county. One of the big things is the North Star project and the Star Center that was built over in between Cedola and Burlington. Because we have been able to come together, we've been able to go down to Olympia to get some good projects done. So that's working together with all the different partners, all the different public to make things happen. So that's one of the things that we have going for us in Skagit County. That's a very unique thing that we have here in Skagit County. So we all get behind a project, we can help make it happen. And it's with you and the public and our other elected officials. It's really important that we speak with a single voice when we go asking for money for some of these big projects. These services for the senior centers are a great vitality for the community, and I think we all are here today because we want to make sure we keep those going. I also want to sincerely thank the City of Mount Vernon for being such a great partner with the county in hosting tonight's Town Hall meeting. As Mayor Donovan said, the only way we can keep senior services sustainable financially is to work together, finding partners within the community and being creative with the funding and resources we have available. Like the city, Skagit County has also been facing very challenging budget for the last couple years, and we know more work will have to be done in the future. It was a very difficult decision for the county to step away from the senior nutritional program. It was very, very difficult for all three commissioners that had to make that tough decision. We've been very proud to deliver a high-quality meals program for seniors in Skagit County for decades, built and supported by the staff in this room tonight. I really thank the staff for all the work they've done that and all the great volunteers we had on the meal program. Commissioners were all thrilled to hear the Skagit Council on Aging would be stepping up to take over the senior meals program. Elaine and her team have already been working very hard to make sure the program will continue seamlessly in July, and we're looking forward to supporting them any way we can. I know the past few months have been worrisome for our seniors, but we are all here today at this event to show you that we are united in supporting the senior services in Mount Vernon and Skagit County. We are not closing the senior center or discontinuing meals or programming. These services will continue, and we are looking forward to finding new ways to ensure these programs are sustainable into the future. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and I appreciate your support going forward on this new projects. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilmember Hudson.
Thank you very much. I do want to, I know we're wrapping up our town hall as it was written, but I will stick around, and I think my co-councils, and we will stick around if you have questions for us specifically that weren't addressed tonight, just so you know we're here for you to ask more questions if you've got them.
You know, and Councilmember Hudson, you stole the words right out of my mouth. But all of your electeds are here. So if you want to spend the next half hour cornering them and asking them more questions, they are available. So, and then I also wanted to open it up. So Commissioner Browning, Commissioner Burns, do you have any other things you want to point out before we wrap up tonight? Any other council members? Mic is free. Might want a battery one.
Thank you for the one that works. I just want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. We really appreciate your interest in the senior centers and the meal program, and that you recognize that we want to work with you, our community, to ensure that we continue to provide services as best we can, and that we work with one another to ensure that continues to happen. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the Mount Vernon Council members who are here, Mayor. Thank you to the staff.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of you know that the meals the Meals on Wheels is really important for me. I've gone with some of the drivers here, and it really is a huge part of keeping our community safe. And sometimes you're the only people that get to see some of the populations that we're serving. And so that's one thing that matters a lot, something we'll have to work really hard on. A couple of years ago, I was out with one of the drivers. This is the best part about living in Skagit County, or living in this whole Northwest, and this little old lady that had been a preacher's wife in the area when I was young. And we went up and we were giving her her meal, and she looked at me and says, "You're that little Browning boy." And I'm like a 70-year-old man looking at it. But it was this is a great community. This is the kind of place that we all want to live in and grow old in. And so I am now the oldest of all the county commissioners, so I'm the closest to needing the services. So I'm probably the most vulnerable for you to talk to. So thank you.
Thank you all. That'll wrap up our program for tonight, but we do have those question cards in the back. If you want to ask any other questions, we'll make sure to follow up with you. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us.